So today I'm coming to you with a video about my Nike GPS sports watch and my Nike FuelBand. So I was asked by one of my loves on Instagram to give a review of my Nike sports band and my Nike FuelBand and my Nike sports watch, because I often take pictures like this and I show them online of my results and my stats, and they just wanted more information, so I thought it would be pretty cool. So if you're like a techie person and you're looking for a more experienced review, this is probably not the video for you. But if you're one of my loves and you want to hear how I use it as a common day person, then I can totally give you that. So I'll start with the Nike watch because I've had it longer, and I will just go into some of the specs, I guess. So this is what the watch looks like. It has a very big screen so you can see the time, and essentially you can cycle through, like if you have a run that you've done, you can go to those runs by going to the history here. And it also works as a stopwatch and a clock, obviously. So you can also keep track of your record. So let's go through just so you can get an idea of some of the basics. So this is the history here, and it keeps track of like your last 10 runs. And then from here you can see some stuff. So you click on there and it shows you your distance that you did, the time it took you to do it. It gives you your average speed, how many calories you burn, and then whatever you set your laps for, it will tell you what that is. My laps are set to every 1 mile. So for me, I'm running outdoors, and the watch is set to GPS. So you have to have a good tower, or like good, I guess, like a good connection. There have been times when I've gone for my run and this watch cannot link to anything, and I just don't know why. And I read some places that said you should probably connect it to your computer before a run just to give it like a recalibration or whatever. So I just always make sure to do that. I always, get the kids ready for school, come into my office, stick it into the computer really quickly. And this is the USB port. And then I just let it recalibrate, and then I put it on. And I sometimes, because I get nervous that it might not sync up to a sensor on the way to the park before I run, I'll set it to start syncing, so that way by the time I get there it's already connected, and then I can just hit ready to run when it's time to go. So for me personally, I got this watch because I had been using the Nike Plus running app, and I already shared with you all in like my how I started running video that I use the Nike Plus running app, and my name is Jenell B Stewart on there, and you collect fuel points. So with the app, I was collecting all these fuel points, and it's really motivating because you can acquire hundreds of thousands of points, and I'm now in the 700K club, which is pretty dope. And so I was using the phone app, and I was on the treadmill when I first started running, and the phone app, it just calculates like your movement and your pace and stuff like that. It's not as accurate as it is with the watch because it's using the GPS, so it actually tracks your like distance literally, which is why it pretty much only works outside. The watch does come with a shoe pod, but the limitations with the shoe pod is unless your sneakers are Nike and are Nike shoes that offer the shoe pod insert inside of the foot underneath the cushion, there's no place to put the shoe pod. I've seen people talk about shoe pod holders, so you can like buy a shoe pod holder, stick the shoe pod in it, and you can attach the shoe pod case to your laces, but I never invested in that. So if you want like most accurate results, just use this in a good environment where you can get good reading. But I guess if you wanted to use the watch indoors, then you probably would want to use the shoe pod because you can have them both connected at the same time. This watch tells you your pace, it tells you your distance, it tells you the current amount of your average speed, it tells you how long you've been running, and it tells you the current time. If you set it for laps, it'll also tell you what lap you're on and so on. But it doesn't give you heart rate, and it tells you your weight your calorie loss based on the amount of time you've been running, the distance you've been running, and the current weight that you put into your settings. So if you're looking for something that's going to be like 100% accurate, that's going to tell you your heart rate, you know, so that you get a good reading of your levels, because you know you can identify better calorie burn by knowing your heart rate zone, and also you can like train better. Let me cover that pimple. You can like train better when you know your heart rate, because if your heart rate gets too high, you can definitely like bring it down, and that you can't evaluate that with this watch. So I've been having this watch for going on 4 years now, and I haven't had any issues with it. I put it on, and then when I come home, I have to plug it into the computer using that port that I showed you, which lives in here. And then you can upload your results. So if you have the Nike Running app, the Nike Running watch doesn't wirelessly sync to it. So you can't like get your results from this by opening up the app and then, you know, syncing the app. You have to connect this watch to the computer in order to upload it to your Nike Fuel database. Until you do that, any activity you've done with this watch will not be accessible. So if you use this watch 5 days a week, some people don't even take it off. There was a point where my husband wore my watch because I was pregnant and I wasn't running, and he wore it as his everyday watch, and then every now and then he would like use it just to like track his walking steps. But until you upload it, it doesn't matter. It only can count what you've done when you upload it to your computer. So that's one thing that I wish we could do, is wirelessly use the app and the phone, the watch. So to the Nike FuelBand, this is my Nike FuelBand, and the Nike FuelBand tells you, oh, I made my goal. There you go. It tells you your goal based on how many fuel points you set as your goal. My goal is 2,500, so you can see I've surpassed that. And it also tells you your calories. It tells you your steps you've taken for the day, and then it tells you the time. And if you're in a session, this little white light here will flash. You can set sessions in the FuelBand, and if you double tap it from this dark screen, it tells you the time. So that way you don't have to cycle through the time every single time you want to know. So the FuelBand also syncs to the Nike app. There's a Nike FuelBand app, and it gives you an idea of your movement, your activity, and you collect fuel points like you saw. I told you I made my goal today. So it's motivating, because if you're someone who is not necessarily running, you know, this watch really serves no purpose for someone who's not running, because it's just a watch. You're not going to be able to turn this on and track your steps. It doesn't track steps. It's explicitly calculating the distance that you've traveled, and it uses that to determine, you know, your calorie burn, but more so for training purposes, how fast you've been running and what distance you covered. This FuelBand doesn't offer that. So if you are a runner, then you need something like this, because the FuelBand does not tell you anything about your run. It's not going to tell you anything outside of how much fuel you've been using. It does give you the option to create a session, and a session is your way of telling the FuelBand that I'm in a period of activity right now. I'm running, I'm kayaking, I'm playing, you know, sports with some friends, or maybe you're doing like strength training, maybe you're skiing, you know, whatever it may be, whatever activity, you can say this is what I'm doing during this period of time, and then it will calculate how many fuel points you've earned during that period of time. But for the common day person like myself, fuel points don't mean anything in the real world. Like, you can't go and tell your friend like, oh, I earned 3,000 fuel points today. Like, that doesn't mean anything. But if you say to someone, I burned this amount of calories during this activity, you know, we understand that type of language. So outside of the Nike Fuel community, fuel points really have no bearing. But the advantages of knowing your fuel points, if you're interested in the Nike FuelBand community, is because you set a goal, and every activity doesn't always equate to a certain amount of energy. So you may be doing something like I don't know, the elliptical machine, for example, and you can be on the elliptical machine for an hour, but if you're holding onto the bars and you're mainly using your feet, then there's really no fuel calculation. So what I do to make up for that limitation is I put this FuelBand in my compression pants so that my legs are getting the motion, because you know the elliptical machine, you may be on the hand one, then I guess then that would be better because your hands are moving, but I prefer to go on the one with the legs where the feet move upward like this, not the one that just kind of stays stationary like this. So you really can't calculate that. Same thing with like a Stairmaster. You know, you're walking up steps for 30 minutes and you know, if you've ever been on the Stairmaster, that is an intense machine and most of the people hold on to it. You can't really calculate that if your hands are like this and your FuelBand is not moving. It doesn't really determine that type of intensity. So I, like I said, put it in my compression pants. However, when I'm running, I just wear the two of them together. And of course, because I'm going like this, it picks up all that movement. The FuelBand also does not tell you heart rate. So if that's something that you need, then neither of these Nike watches or Nike fitness bands are going to be helpful to you because it does not tell you heart rate. The Nike FuelBand also, it tells you calories, but I find it to not always be that accurate because there's been days when I've run 8 miles and my calories for 8 miles on my watch is like 1,200 calories, and then my Nike FuelBand will say I've only burned like 900 calories for the day. So it may not be that great for telling you your calories. Why do I use them if they have limitations? For me personally, it's kind of like the Apple syndrome. Mama? I'm sorry, my little girl and my little boy are in here now. You know, if you love your Apple iPhone, you just get really kind of like addicted to it, if that's one word. I kind of tend to be brand loyal. So for gadgets and things, like my camera's a Canon, my computer's a Mac, I probably will always buy a Canon. I will probably always get a Mac now. I wear a certain type of makeup and I always buy that certain type of makeup, even though maybe there's other brands that are good. It's a similar thing. You know, I had bought the Nike watch and then I just wanted to go with the Nike FuelBand. I wanted to be able to calculate my fuel points in various ways. When I don't have either of these or when they're dead, I use the app and I still can get the same advantages. In the FuelBand community, I had started developing and accumulating so many points that to switch to something else just didn't make a lot of sense for me. They're easy to use, they're user friendly, and I put it on and I don't have to think about it. So for me, it just makes sense. Like I said, it may not be the best tool for someone else. But, you know, the Nike running watch and the Nike running app, it's a great way to build community because so many people are on Nike running. A lot of you have added me and you have seen how much I run, and that motivates people. I've been invited to challenges and I've participated. Some of them I've won, some of them I've lost. But I would definitely say that if you're looking to get motivated as far as like being active, being fit, running, or whatever it may be, a fit band of some sort would be a good investment because it does calculate some of your movement. Does it have to be the Nike FuelBand? No, there's the Fitbit. I recently bought my my best friend something by Samsung. I don't remember what it was called, but it was like a whole bunch of stuff in one. She could like check her text messages and even like I think answer her phone. There's regular pedometers if you just want to keep track of how many steps, because this also tracks the steps. So definitely, you know, you can go with something that's more cost effective if you don't need to be like using a Nike one. It is water resistant. You don't have to take it off to take a shower, but they advise you not to wear it like to swim. I hope this video was helpful. Please let me know if you have any other questions. Like I said, it's not the best review for a techie person, but it works. Please subscribe to my channel. I put out videos every couple of days. If you have any questions, leave them below. And as always, I love you for watching. Bye. Say hi. Say hi. Leave you behind, grabbing the wrong, catch up, wear buttons against me. Can't prosper. Armor of God is much stronger than the army of y'all. I'm ready for war. After that, I'm ready to ball, and after that.